to the arena, everyone. We'll get to Kareem's piece in a moment. We'll have our esteemed panel talk about it, but we wanted to make sure that you all understood at home our mission. That is to talk about what has happened in the world since sports disappeared, and now that sports is back. How the players that we all admire on the court are activated and dedicated to the change off the court. No one better than highly intelligent Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, arguably one of the best big men to ever play the game. Chuck, I'll start with you first. For folks at home, this is your first time seeing that piece. Your reaction?
Amazing. And if that does not give you chills, there is amazing. But those guys work together, not just black folks. We need white folks to make this thing work also. And I think that's the tipping point.
What is that fine line you talk about between being an ally and alienating people?
You know, Cari, I'm so glad you asked, because
walking a fine line is a hard thing to ask, especially when you're activated and you're an activist and you want that message to be heard. If you're tired of being that person that's tiptoeing in life, and so many of us are exhausted, we've been tired. Draymond, do you understand what he's saying? And your thoughts on what Kareem had to say? It's very important. We have that photo right behind us. That's the Cleveland Summit. Before the show today, you and I were talking about that because you'll remember that ESPYs moment where D-Wade got up there with Melo, LeBron, Chris Paul. And to me, in terms of what we know in athletes and activism, that was the closest thing to that moment for us, this generation. When you watch Kareem's piece, does it activate and resonate with you?
It does. I mean, you know, these amazing individuals, these amazing athletes, supporting, 1967. And here we stand on the stage in 2008, Bill Russell and Kareem. And I know that LeBron and...
Interesting, because I feel like the NBA, and Chuck, you can weigh on this too, I feel like the NBA has always led the charge, specifically the WNBA. We also have to mention like Maya Moore and her efforts, freeing a man, taking time out.
The player,
crazy.
I was like, this is crazy.
You putting people in jail for stuff that's legal and they're making money off of it now.
And the thing is, though, Cari, not only they put them during my time.
Right.
Like we put money on different problems on schools and things like that and trying to start. That's what I think we need to start doing a better job of.
Yeah, it's interesting because each day this week that we're on air, we're having a theme. And so today's theme is exactly that. What athletes are doing, how they're activated, and voting. Because voting is key. Draymond, I know you're working with more than a vote, and we'll get to that. And we have so many guests coming up. Stacey Abrams will be here. She will talk about, she knows about voter suppression. She will tell you the election was stolen from her. We've had some people weigh in on what everyone, presented by Tractor Supply Company. When Killer Mike stood before the residents of Atlanta and said the time now is to plot, plan, strategize, mobilize, it became a national call to action, and that begins arguably with voting. Our special contributor sits with Atlanta Hawks head coach Lloyd Pierce to discuss the team's role in his call to action. State Farm Arena has become the largest voting facility in Georgia, and who better to talk about the importance of voting in Georgia and voter suppression. Let's bring in Stacey Abrams, who served in the Georgia House of Representatives for 11 years overall. Stacey, I know voter suppression is something that is near and dear to you. There are so many people now joining in that movement, but I want to make it plain for our viewers. Talk to me about how simply would you say, or describe rather, what voter suppression looks like? Voters played basketball today. That was powerful. Meanwhile, speaking of playing basketball today, we're going to head to the Orlando bubble where there was media availability and, of course, talk about social justice. Joining us here in studio already, same thing. Show your shirt, D-Wade. You right
Zoom
there.
In on me.
Powerful, man. D-Wade been coming with the shirts this week. I like that. Guys are doing in the bubble. They're standing up for what they believe. Everyone is making it their obligation. Everyone is truly change.
But I think they got to be very careful.
Somebody like LeBron James, if he decides that he's only going to answer with a social
Cari, you
justice
can do both.
Okay, but what if they don't want to?
Well, then
that just makes the press. You can report as Breonna Taylor. You're not going to stop answer questions because you
said it earlier, and I wanted you to explain it. It is important to do both things, but what if you don't feel the need right now because you're tired and all you want to do at this moment is act?
It's a very slippery slope, but
do when you sit down at the press table, say what they want to say. So if you want to say something, if you don't want to word something,
There's some questions and then go back.
it's give and
Yeah,
take.
what you're
because
saying.
you got to let them do their job.
So
That's a
I thought
happy
we
medium.
played great defense tonight, but we still need Justin.
With that,
ways.
I'm with that,
Yeah.
100%. Meanwhile, you know what else? His nickname isn't Dre. We just made that up. That's a big deal. Howard University, 5-star recruit. First time it's happened. I would like to say a couple of edits. I asked him, honestly, who he wanted to take on one-on-one on this panel, and he said he was going
Chuck.
to take you out.
That's because
Draymond.
both of them
Did it?
I
are old.
thought he was going for Chuck. He don't even know us.
Hey, let me tell you something. He don't want none of Dre. That little flimsy. I hope Howard got a good weight room.
Chuck, I got a point to make about this. I love this move. An arena that seats less than 3,000 people, right? You go to these other arenas, Kentucky, all these big schools,
Yeah.
right?
Well, no, he's right. D Wade's point, you were right about that. But I will say this, just by background. I asked him that very same question, and his logic to me was very smart. He said, look, if LaMelo Ball can do it from Australia, and I know that the facilities there are nothing, and he's already a lottery pick, perhaps number one, why can't I do it? Why can't I go to HBCU and do it?
Well, so I'm giving for his.
He knows
Yeah,
that,
lottery.
but he knows that. So why not do that and get some dollars funneled into the
But
HBCU?
can you build
I
something?
think-
I don't know if he's gonna be, in my opinion.
Well, Chuck, y'all had worse facilities during.
Further justice for Breonna Taylor.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
for
it.
Breonna
for
Taylor.
Dwyane Taylor.